Good morning. Happy Thursday, and welcome to a brand new episode of The Hunt. I know everyone gets excited when you see me. It means the week's at the tail end and almost over. For those tuning in for the first time, this is our weekly show dedicated towards helping you navigate different situations in the recruiting world, whether it be looking for a new job or hiring talent on your team. And this show is meant to be interactive. So those who are tuning in, especially in today's episode, use the comment box, chime in with questions you have about recruiting, about the industry, about what this career path is like. I'm going to get to those questions throughout the show, and you can always comment after the fact or message me directly on LinkedIn. But thank you for watching, and specifically excited about today's episode because it's close to the heart. And today's episode is all about a career in recruiting. And in this great reshuffling, a term that I'm not too fond of, over the past few years, it's really led a lot of you out there to reevaluate your career path and really think about, am I in the field that I want to be in for the rest of my career? And it's becoming apparent that just because you went to school for something, you've got your degree, you spent all this money, you spent the first few years of your career in this field, you're not stuck in that field anymore. Those days are gone. There are so many options out there today where you can leverage your experience in a different way and a way that's going to make you happier with your life and happier at work. And this show's all about one of those paths that I can personally speak to in recruiting. So if you do a quick search on LinkedIn of all the recruiters you've worked with, you'll find a common theme. Most, if not all of them, started their career in a field other than recruiting. They fell into this at a point in their careers, likely where they were looking for something a little different, and they made the pivot. Many of them, you'll find, actually started their careers in the field in which they ultimately ended up recruiting for. So if you're an accountant and you're just getting a little bored and turned off by the accounting work and the drone of it, but you want to look for something, a different way to use that skill set, you could pivot into the accounting and finance team of a recruitment agency. So take a look, do that research, and I guarantee you'll find that most people started in a different path. And there's a reason for that. It's probably the only career change that allows you to leverage all of the experience, knowledge, and education that you've worked so hard to gain, but in a completely different type of role with an earning potential that oftentimes far exceeds what you could potentially earn if you stayed in that path. There's nothing else like it. I don't know any other career pivot you can make that allows you to still bring that experience with you, doing something completely different in a way, but still using that knowledge and having this earning potential that's uncapped and could far exceed your peers that you leave behind. But as much of a game changer as it is, a lot of people still overlook this path. I think a lot of it's due to a lack of understanding of what we really do as recruiters. So that's what this episode's all about, to give you a quick overview of what it is that this path's all about, and see if any of you watching, if this hits home, if this is you, if you're sitting there bored at what you do, not stimulated anymore, don't want to throw everything away, but really want to try something different. That's what this episode's all about. So ask questions again, use the comment box. Abdul, thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll get through those questions throughout the show as we go. So in terms of what a recruiter does and how we spend our days, I'll break it down into three easy categories. Number one is sourcing. Okay, so we're receiving a job from a company. We're working with dozens of different companies, startups, tech companies, e-commerce companies, really cool businesses. They reach out to us about a role. You get to understand that position. You're learning what they're looking for. What do they exactly want? And then you're going out there and trying to get creative to be able to search through different methods, through your network, through LinkedIn, through databases that different agencies will have. And you're trying to get creative to engage with the people that you're finding that look good. So that's a heavy majority of it early on, is the sourcing, the matchmaking, the detective skills to be able to understand a role, understand what this company's looking for, and then going out there and trying to find those people that really fit that mold. And then once you found them, how do you engage with them? How do you stand out from the pack? How do you really find a different way to capture that person's attention, to engage with them and be able to ultimately present an opportunity? So that's the front end. For those detectives out there that are watching who really love the sound of that and the matchmaking aspect, that's the front piece. The second wave of it is really about the guidance and strategy. Once you have a good relationship built up, you have a candidate in play, you're guiding them through the entire process. You're helping manage their concerns, questions, objections, things that they don't like, things they want to stay away from. And you're guiding them through that entire process using a lot of strategic direction, a lot of thinking on your feet, critical thinking skills, thinking outside the box, and trying to really maneuver and navigate through situations to get to the point where if this is the role they want, you have both sides matched up. And then the last piece is negotiation and helping negotiate those offers, being able to really position things in the right way to make this work for both sides. So if you notice a common theme from those three facets, sourcing, the detective work, the guidance and strategy, the mind bending type stuff, the puzzle solving, and then the negotiating, you'll notice that all three of those emphasize your people skills and your life skills over any sort of technical background. To be successful in this career path, you don't need to be a math whiz. You don't need to be a systems guru or a software developer. You don't need to have an MBA or a PhD. You need to have this ability to think on your feet, an ability to really engage with people, a passion for interaction. So if I had to narrow it down to the key skills, if you're asking and you're watching and you're saying, I really want something different, but how do I know if I have the attributes necessary? You need to be driven. You need to be self-motivated with a love of competition to really succeed and thrive and enjoy this. The competitive aspect is what really drives all of us, what gets us excited, what gives us that thrill and that rush. So you need to have that drive. You have to be resilient. No new career path's going to come without its challenges. There's going to be a lot of roadblocks, some good days, some bad days early on until you really get rolling. Can you push through those tough times early on to really get through to the other side? So you got to have that resiliency. You clearly need the communication skills to be able to really stand out, develop credibility, and really be able to reach and engage with an audience. And you got to have wit. And what I mean by wit is the ability to think on your feet, be able to draw on life experiences, to be able in real time to provide context to people that are dealing with certain situations. The wittiness is key, not in being funny, but in being able, again, to draw on context. Because the beauty of this business and the challenge of it also, no 2 days are the same. I've been doing this 8, 9 years, still face a new situation every day in which someone throws something at me when I'm in real time on the phone, and I need to be able to give them guidance or advice or context based on a situation that might have happened 5 years ago or that never happened. So you have to really be able to draw on life, draw on experiences to be witty in the moment. So drive, resiliency, communication skills, and wit. And at the end of the day, it's just an absolute bonus if you happen to come from a field in which you're ultimately going to be recruiting for. Because then you come in from day one already knowing the type of profiles you're looking for, the type of backgrounds, how to speak to these candidates that you're working with to be able to vet out if they're actually good at what they do. Instead, if you come from accounting, I keep using that example because I lead the accounting and finance team. You come from accounting and you can come into recruiting and you already know what an accountant does, what a controller does, what their experience should be, how to really screen them with the right questions. Then that's a beautiful thing to be able to navigate through. So, a few of you are starting to chime in, and please use the comment box. Natalie, you've worked in administration for 17 years. You're over it. You're done trying to do a career change for years. If this sounds interesting, maybe you could look at recruiting in the administrative operations area, searching for office management, executive assistant, administrative operations. Those recruiting positions are out there where you wouldn't even need to learn a new type of background to be successful. So reach out to us, or I'll check in with you after the show to see if that would be something you'd be open to discussing. And Rana, from project management to data analysis, data science, I'm not the expert for that one, unfortunately. I would think reaching out to a recruiting agency that has more of an IT focus would be the right way to go. So I hope that helps. But in terms of figuring this out, how do you really know if recruiting would be worth considering? You really have to know yourself and know what drives you. If you're sitting there in your role right now and you're watching this and you're dreading starting your day because it's going to be the same monotonous thing and you're really hoping for something more sales oriented, more engaging, more competitive driven, recruiting could be an option that solves that problem. If you also are the type that you work hard, you're working nights, you're working 80-hour weeks, 70-hour weeks, but no matter what you do, you earn the same salary and maybe you get a bonus at the end of the year and you wish the more time you put in, the more money you could theoretically earn if you're good at what you do. Again, recruiting could be an option. It provides that unlimited earning potential where you're really in control to a lot of extent on how much you could earn. And if you're sitting there and you're in a role where every day's the same, you're 2, 3 years into your career and you already feel like you're monotonous and you kind of have the same cycle, then recruiting could be an interesting path. Every day is different. You're dealing with new companies, you're working with new people, you're working with new situations, new scenarios. This could be a really interesting option to check out. So, but at the end of the day, the only way to really know is to learn more about it. And if anything here hit home today from the context that I shared about this industry, just know it's open to anybody if you have the right skills, the right attributes, the right traits. And I would really encourage you, if you're watching this and this really sounds like the type of path that you would like to pursue, look at some of the recruiters you've worked with, reach out to them, send them a message, let them know you'd be curious to learn more about recruiting, the ones that you really think did things the right way, that you really believe are good at what they do. Because if they've reached out to you in the past, they probably work in your field, which means you'd have that perfect opportunity to recruit for the field that you came from. And if you believe in the way they operated, they probably come from an agency that values that. So reach out to those top recruiters that you remember that you had great experiences with and ask them if you could set up a conversation to learn more about potentially recruiting. Any quality agency in this job market has more business than they can handle. And if they have an opportunity to speak to someone that wants to potentially join the team, they will absolutely take you up on that. And I hope I'm on that list. If you're watching this show today, I hope I'm one of those people that you trust. And if you're thinking about this career path, reach out to me. Send me a message after this show. Comment in the chain. I'll reach out to everyone individually. And if you're really genuinely excited about this kind of career transition, then I'd love to share more. But there's absolutely nothing like it. If you're in a rut and you just lost love for what you do, don't feel stuck just because you went to school for it, or just because you spent a couple years doing this and you feel like you don't want to start all over. Especially if you find a recruiting group that specializes in the field that you come from, it is such a seamless transition with a few hiccups along the way. And before long, if you're great at this, you'll find yourself earning far more than any of the colleagues that you left behind, and you'll be doing something that you're that much more passionate about. All right, so Sandra, this goes for you also. 20 years in finance and middle office. You interested in transitioning to recruiting? We'll catch up after the show and we'll find some time to talk. Would love nothing more than to share my story and share the stories of some of the people here who have made successful transitions. So I hope everyone really enjoyed this episode. I hope I gave you some great context on a really interesting career path that's often overlooked, but can be one of the most successful, enjoyable, and lucrative transitions out there for you. But thanks for tuning in for The Hunt. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week and an awesome weekend. And we'll be back in a couple weeks with a brand new episode. But comment, follow Advice Personnel for similar content. Send me a personal message, Kevin Roth. I'm tagged to this post, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Look forward to hopefully speaking to a lot of you that are watching today. Take care.